right, you guys, it's episode 54 of War Stories, and without further ado, I'm going to get straight back to it. So I just dropped episode 53 of War Stories. I'm going to hit you guys with episode 54. These are just some quick ones to get something out to you guys tonight, since it's been so long since I dropped War Stories. So I'm going to get back into Inner Demons in a couple days. Before at least the next few videos, I'm going to go ahead and drop War Stories. So let me go ahead and get straight into this one. I'm going to take you guys back to 1989. Now, this was a time where I just got convicted out of San Francisco and San Mateo counties for 4 robberies. That was my MO. My thing was robberies. So I ended up picking up 4 robberies, 2 out of Frisco, 2 out of San Mateo. They ran them bull-legged. They gave me 7 years, and I got my first bid. Now, in 1989, I hit San Quentin for the first time. San Quentin was and still is the reception center for Northern California, at least for parts of Northern California. I believe it still is. At least it was the last time I checked. Anyway, so I hit San Quentin. I got 7 years. You know, when I was in the county jail, some of my older homies did what they were supposed to do. They let me know, you know, that since I was destined to prison, they basically let me know, look, when you get to prison, you know, the NR, they're going to approach you. This is what to look for. These are the characteristics. These are the signs. These are all the things that you need to know in order to make contact with these individuals. So when I hit San Quentin, I'm not going to get into all the protocols, the processes, and all that stuff, because I just want to cut straight to the chase. But eventually I would make contact with a couple NR members that had West Block at that time. Paul Alavencia, Puerto Rican puppet from San Jose, and Cisco Diaz. Well, Pedro Diaz, they called him Cisco out of San Jose. Then you had Ray Perez, Chocolate from San Jose, another one that I've mentioned in some of my other stories. Anyways, well, somebody else that is part of the history of San Jose, the indictments and all that. He was one of the ones that got hit out there in all that the string of murders that happened in the early 90s. So anyways, these 3 individuals, they would get at me for, you know, the next couple of months while I was there in Quentin. They would put me on a 90-day probationary period, in my indoctrination process basically started right then and there. Now, again, I'm not going to get into all that, but I will say this for the sake of this story. So the 90-day probationary period is, you know, there's two purposes for it. One is to give you an opportunity to make sure that this is what you really want to sign up for. The other reason is to give those individuals that are recruiting you, those that are raising their hands for you, your sponsor and the guy that's actually recruiting you, is to give them an opportunity to evaluate you and make sure that you're making the commitment for all the right reasons. There's a lot of guys that want to make a commitment to the NR because they want the status, they want the title, or, you know, they got family that are hooked up, so they want to get hooked up too. Those are the guys that are going to get weeded out because they're making the commitment for the wrong reason. They don't really have it burning in their heart. They're not true believers. So I get put on the 90-day probationary period. And during the 90-day probationary period, you can basically be asked to do anything and everything that an NR does in the course of their commitment to that movement. Whether it's holding a piece, whether it's securing paperwork, whether it's posting up, you know, security detail, or a removal. It could be anything and everything. So I knew this was a possibility when I was getting recruited, that I could be asked to participate in a removal. However, I didn't think that I would actually be participating in a removal that early on in my career, because for one, San Quentin at that time was just a reception center. It's not a war zone. There's nothing really happening there. There's some house cleaning that always goes on. You know, there's individuals that come through that have smut on them, or, you know, for whatever reason they got put on the BNL. Those individuals get hit, they get removed. So that's really the only thing that's going to happen there, besides, you know, whether there's a situation that might occur with another, you know, another ethnicity, another group segment, the Africanos, the Woods, the Asians, you know, somebody else, the whites. If something else like that kicks off, then that's a different scenario. But, you know, I knew that this was part of the 90-day probationary period, that was a possibility, because aside from the schooling that I was getting from Puerto Rican Puppet, Chocolate, and Cisco, I'd be in the cell chopping it up with my celly, and these are things that we'd be talking about. It's like, they could ask you to move on somebody. You could be asked to participate in a removal. So, I was always on the ready for it. I wasn't one to ever question something. If I was asked to participate in a stabbing, if I was asked to remove somebody, I would just do it. I learned early on from some of my older homies, never ask questions, even if you don't agree with it. And even if it at certain points, even if it conflicts with the way you've been schooled, you're put in a situation like that, as long as you got your facts in order, you were doing as you were told. So if somebody's in the wrong, the accountability will fall on that individual that sent me to do whatever it is that got me in trouble. So, I never asked questions. I never debated. I never questioned anything that was ever asked of me. If I was told to hit somebody, I just asked when, where, how, and when you want me to do it. So anyways, during the probationary period, I'm getting my schooling, learning different things about the NR, and mostly all it consisted of was really my schooling and posting up and learning different things as far as, some of the things that I would be involved in on the main lines, a lot of mainline training. So there was a situation that ended up arising in West Block, and basically what it was there was a white dude that was a JCat, and this dude didn't belong over there. He belonged where they housed the JCats. At that time, I want to say it was Badger section or Donner, but it wasn't in West Block. This was the type of dude that had like half his hair cut off, one eyebrow, and would just do stuff for no reason, weird shit. You know what I mean? Like just walking around doing dumb shit, punching the wall, or rattling the gate, or dumping garbage on the floor, and coming too close to a lot of individuals that are like, just what the fuck is this dude doing? So, aside from doing that, he would also bang on his sink and talk a lot of shit off his bars. And over there, it's a programmed unit. There's no PCs. There's no, everybody is in full compliance with the program. And it's a respect thing. When they shut it down at 10:20, it's shut down. The whole block is quiet. You might hear somebody fishing in the distance, but it's real quiet. You can barely hear them. So this individual will be yelling off his gate, just doing a bunch of dumb shit. So, in retrospect, when I think back on it, I don't know why the Woods didn't deal with it, because really that was their problem, their responsibility. It was on them to remove that dude. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was they didn't really have anybody that was really functioning on that level over there, because a lot of times you'll get a lot of white guys that just come through West Block that are just regular individuals. They're not into politics. They don't have a leader. Only, certain ones are on that level. Nazi lowriders, ABs, obviously, other dudes that have been gamed up. But if they're not there, they're not there. So I don't know why I didn't ask questions, but when I think back on it, it's like, it's crazy, because something like that, could really have kicked off a war. If we're removing somebody that's not a Northerner and is outside our ethnicity, that can be an issue. But for whatever reason, they put a green light on that individual. So I was told by Puppet, Puerto Rican Puppet, that I would be participating in a removal. Basically, what they were saying is that they just wanted this dude out of there. They just basically wanted him socked up and got up out of there, however it was done. And they wanted, preferably they wanted us to get away with it. They didn't want us to stay on them. They just wanted us to just smash this dude's head in and leave him smashed up on the tier so that they get him up out of there. So, Puppet made sure that he told me, hey, if you can, bro, try to get away, because we need to finish your probation, and we're the ones that are recruiting you. So you don't want to end up going to the oil, you get over there and nobody's going to end up, picking up your recruitment and finishing it. So, just smash on the dude, smash on him real quick, try to fucking just knock him out and then just get up out of there. So, we didn't really talk about it. The other two individuals, there was three of us that got on this dude. And, one of them I ended up in Susanville with, a good homeboy out of Hayward. And the other one, I want to say he was out of somewhere like a small city like Belmont or somewhere out of San Mateo County. But anyways, there was three of us, and we didn't talk about how it was gonna, happen, other than we were gonna approach him on the tier and we were gonna get him on his tier. Now, I was housed in West Block on Yard Side. He was housed on Bayside. And the way that they distinguish calling it Yard Side and Bayside is if you're housed on Yard Side, it's basically if you look out the window, you can see West Block Yard. That's how you know you're on Yard Side. If you're on the other side and you look out that window, you can see the bay, the water. That's how you know it's Bayside. So he was on Bayside. He was on the third tier. So he wasn't even on the same side that I was on. Now, I had learned how to stay out in West Block all day. After I went through my 10-day CTQ, I learned how to stay out, how to beat their little system and stay out from the morning until, the time that we came out to get our breakfast and grab our lunches, all the way up until like 3 o'clock. I would literally stay out the whole day. And the way I would do that was when they would come in and lock up West Block, I would climb down the tier. You can slip through the bars and climb down like a monkey on some monkey bars. That's what I did. So I got all the way down. I would get down to the first tier, and then I would go out to West Block Yard, where they had a class that was always in session. Guys that were coming through the reception center, they had to take a test, like an exam, to see where their level of schooling was. So there was always people in the classroom, whether it was West Block, Alpine, Badger, Donner. The class was always in motion. So I would go out to the yard, and then I would go over to the class and I just hang out. And I'd wait till West Block Yard came out, kick it with them. When they go back in, I'd slide back over by the classroom. I'd wait till Donner came out. So I got to kick it with all the homies. Anyways, when they run chow in West Block, they run one side at a time, Yard Side, Bayside, or Bayside, Yard Side, whatever. So what I had to do, well, me and one of the other homies, is we basically had to come out, and then we had to stay out so that we could be out when his side came out. And that's what we did. So they ran it, they ran chow like they did every other day. And when they went to the chow hall, we did this early in the morning, right after breakfast. So when they ran our side first, everybody went back in. That's what we did. We slid over to the classroom and we waited for Bayside West Block to come out. When they came out, they ran them in the chow hall. Then when they started to run them back in, that's when we walked back over to West Block and we went in with everybody else. Now, at that point, it was easy to get, back onto my side. They wouldn't trip because I could just say that, I got locked in one of the chow halls with that side. So, that's how I got locked out. It wouldn't be an issue. So anyways, when, the other thing I want to say about this before I get into the part where we actually remove this guy is that the one thing that wasn't discussed, and I tripped on this when I was thinking about it, is this is the only removal that I've ever been involved in that wasn't with a weapon. Now, years later, when I would become more seasoned and, I would participate in many other removals, I always believed, even as an NR member, I always believed that we should always use a weapon. If we're going to go in on somebody, we're going to spill their blood. It makes no sense socking them up so that they could look in the mirror and they could heal up 3 days later and laugh about it. We wanted to give them something to remember us by, give them a Kool-Aid smile, a necktie, or plug them with something. So I always believed in using a weapon, and I always wanted to use a weapon. because at that time, I was still trying to earn my bones. I still had that mindset or that mentality of, if I get an opportunity to stab somebody, I want to make it as good of a stabbing as I can, as messy and as bloody as I can, so that the homies would be like, that's a sick ass fool right there. That's the mentality. Straight up. You don't want to just go up to somebody, poke them a couple times, and homies are gonna look at you and be like, man, that was weak, bro. He barely plugged that fool. So, you know, I never thought about it when we were going to remove this guy, because I wasn't really that advanced as far as my schooling or, my politicking. I wasn't that seasoned yet to think about it, like to demand or to request that we are able to use a piece. As years went on and I became an NR member and I would become an NF member, NF members they're always gonna require that a weapon is used anytime somebody is hit. And most of the time, it's going to be a stabbing instrument. It's not going to be a tomahawk. That's the NR signature weapon, a tomahawk. They like to slice cats up. NF members are, their mentality is, we're going to plug them, let's stick something in them. You have more of a chance of killing somebody or of really putting a hurt on them if you stab them, you run something up in them, a bone crusher, something like that. So, this was one of the only removals that I got involved in where there wasn't a weapon involved. So anyways, the only thing that, like I said, we really discussed amongst the three of us is that we were going to go to his tier. And, when we got a visual on him, we were just going to, all three of us were basically just going to go in on him, walk up on him, get around, get on both sides of him, and then just go in on him and mollywop his ass. So when we went up the stairs, he was housed on the third tier. Like I told you guys, he was housed on the third tier. And, we went up to the third tier. And as we're walking down the tier, I remember getting a visual on the cat. I could see him when we got like halfway down the tier. He was like closer towards the end. But I remember seeing him leaning through the bars, like looking down towards the bottom tiers, like towards the first tier. So I was the last of us three. The other two homies were in front of me. So when we got up to him, the other two homies kept walking past him and got on the other side of him. And I slid up right next to him. And literally, as soon as we got there, this dude didn't see nothing. He didn't suspect nothing. But we didn't waste no time. As soon as we were on both sides of him, we just went in on him. And it was, here you go. So anyways, we're going in on this dude. We're beating the shit out of him. We got him up on the gate, and this dude's not trying to fight back. His lunch goes flying. Somebody picked up his lunch, and we're fucking this dude up. You know what I mean? He's got some baggy ass. I remember he had some baggy ass oranges on, and his top shirt got ripped off. Like we were trying to tear this fool apart, man. But at one point, I remember we had him up on the gates, and then we had him up on the bars. And one of the other homies from Hayward, this fool, when we had him on the bars, we were pounding this fool. Bing, bop, bing, bop, bop, bing, bop. This fool was just trying to cover up, but he started to try to push this dude through the bars. And when I seen what he was doing, he was trying to throw him off the tier, basically. When I seen what he was doing, I started to push him. So now all three of us are trying to push this dude through the bars so that he'll take a little swan dive to the first tier. Well, he's holding on for dear life, man. Believe me. I'm taking shots to his face, and I'm hitting him wherever I can hit him, because he's stuck completely through the bars now. But he's got his legs wrapped around like a koala bear, and he's got his arms wrapped around the bars. He's bear hugging him. This dude would not let the bars go. And I mean, I'm trying to pull his arms. The other homie was trying to pull his legs apart, but he kept on wrapping his legs and his arms around until finally this dude is either half monkey or he's just the luckiest J-Cat in San Quentin at that time. Because what ended up happening is, eventually, I thought we were gonna push him off because he came loose, but he swung down and somehow caught on to the bars on the second tier and crawled down where we couldn't get to him. He crawled down to the second tier, and when I looked through, he was just climbing through the bars on the second tier. But I mean, we did our part. Homeboy said, the main thing was to get away, and that's what we did. Now, we busted the dude up pretty good. He was leaking everywhere, so I knew the chances of him getting, taken that day, he was probably going to get taken. I knew he was going to probably go down to the front desk where the COs were at and probably tell him, hey, I need to get up out of here. So it was a J-Cat. He was one of those J-Cats that they're crazy, but they're not crazy. Or they're crazy sometimes, but sometimes they know what the fuck's going on. That's the kind of dude this dude was. Now, for those of you that don't know what a J-Cat is, that's a classification title that CDC uses to basically identify somebody that's not working with the full deck, somebody that's crazy. You know what I mean? So that dude really shouldn't have been over there. He shouldn't have been housed in West Block. He had been housed there for a while. As far as what I remember, he had been there for a couple weeks and nobody was doing nothing about it. So, the homies over there on Bayside were complaining about the dude. They wanted to get that dude up out of there, but they gave the honors to us. The other two individuals that participated in that removal were also, from what I remember, at least one of them was also being recruited into the NR and was also on probation. The third one was housed on the other side, so I didn't really get to interact with that dude that much. Anyways, I know this is another quick one, but it's content. It's something to get out to you guys. It's a quick war story until tomorrow. You guys can tie off till tomorrow. I promise I'll give you guys some fire. This is just a quick one just to get something out tonight. Anyways, this episode 54. This your boy B. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back tomorrow. I'm out.